mechanisms of implementation of governance within the European Union on the supranational level are rather specific in comparison with the mechanisms on the implementation of governance on the national level, due to the essence of the European Union as institutional and subnational structure. First of all, the mechanisms are aimed at bringing flexibility and set up systematic dialogue with national governments. The European Union wields not so much competences in comparison with every national government. That's why the decisions which are made on the supranational level can be transferred to the national level by special means. First of all, it's actually the activities of executive bodies, such as European Commission. The European Commission has in its structure different staff, different European commissioners, which are in charge on different spheres of the activity of the European Union, and the European commissioners are rather active at bringing the decisions to the head of states into the national level, and to provide the implementation of governance governance on the supranational level. It means actually that the European commissioners try to provide the decisions on the national level on the one hand, and on the other they also try to stick to actually their decisions on the supranational level. It makes the policy of the European Union systematic. It makes it sustainable and also pragmatic in bringing the decision to the member states, and also providing the decision-making process on the supranational level. The supranational governance is rather active at the moment due to the fact that the European Union is really tries actually to bring the governance in line with the activities of the national governments. That's why at the moment the activity of the staff of the European Commission is strongly connected and goes in coordination with the activity of national governance and the certain ministers of the national governments. The mechanisms of implementation of governance within the European Union on the national level are twofold. The first one, actually, it is the representations of the member states within the European institution. Every member states of the European Union has the permanent representation within the European Union, as well as the European commissioners is actually the staff of the European Commission are promoted by the national governments. It means actually that national governments try to pursue their goals in intense dialogue with the European institution via the representations on the European level, on the supranational level. On the other hand, they try also to cooperate with the European Commission on certain issues, and also use the European commissioners as the source and as the key partners for the dialogue. The national governments try also to promote their goals within the European Union by trying to transfer some competences, sovereign competences, to the European level in order to get some things done. First of all, it concerns the countries which are not so stable politically and economically, and they try to get some competences to the upper level in order to transfer some obligations to the supranational level. But at the same time, when one can say that at the moment the competences which are on the national level and which comprise actually the process of governance within the national level are really vast, and they encompass different activities concerning the European Union as the supranational organization and the national governments. It means actually there is always a tense and systematic dialogue between European institutions and the national governments, which also helps to find the joint way of promoting some decision, and also to make the work of bringing closer and compromise the interests of the European Union and the national member states. The mechanisms of implementation of governance within the EU on the regional level encompass several tools. One of the most effective and efficient tool of implementation of governance concerning the activities of the regional level is setting up the representation of the European Union institutions in different regions of Europe. It means actually that European Union try to provide some assistance. It's not only financial or economic assistance for the region, but also social assistance in this or that region by setting up the representation in this region. On the other hand, the European region are also active in setting up the representations within the European Union. For instance, it means actually bringing up some representations to Brussels and to other places where the decision making within the European Union takes place, and try also to pursue their goals in finding the ways of cooperation and interaction with the European institutions. The other mechanism of implementation of governance on the regional level is also the special programs of the European Union aimed at European regions. Such programs as Interrex and also the activity of structural funds of the European Union, which helps to provide sustainable economic development of different regions, are really helpful in setting up the dialogue and also try to bring closer European Union and European regions in forging their joint policies, and also to put in line the process of governance within the European Union, which can be stay in line with the compliance policy with the European Union and not depends on the national specifics, national structures and so on. The activity of the regions of Europe within the European Union is also connected with the fact that at the moment European regions try to sustain their cultural identity, and European Union is really helpful in solving this goal. It means actually European Union also fosters the multicultural approach within the member states of the European Union. The mechanisms of implementation of governance within the European Union on the local level is rather a specific thing due to the fact that traditionally local governance is independent from national level, national governance, and also regional governance. The European Union in its policy tries to promote the different principles toward the local governance. It's also the principle of subsidiarity. It's also the principle of active role of local communities in forging some policies, and also the assistance and support of the local communities within the member states of the European Union. The local governance traditionally use the mechanisms of governance which stays aside from the national and regional levels. And the European Union, by handling the problem of mechanism of implementation of governance on the local level, try to stick to the active role of local communities, and also tries to sustain the local diversity and multicultural essence of the local communities in the member states. The European Union tries to provide some assistance to the local governance in different ways. It's not only the special programs, but also the active role of the European Union as a structure which promotes some legislation aimed at defending the local specifics and so on. That's why at the moment the local governance really benefit from the active dialogue within with the European Union, and the European Union also try to have the effective dialogue with local communities by providing the necessary tools for active cooperation, not only financial cooperation, but also in cooperation in other ways like consultations, like legislation and so on. The European at the moment is one of the major things which helps actually to promote local governance in every member state which is the part of the European Union. The most effective mechanisms of implementation of governance within the European Union are traditionally tied to the active interaction between different levels of governance within the European Union. First of all, it's the interaction between supranational and national levels, which are the major levels of governance within the European Union. The active dialogue between European institutions and the national governance within such institutions like European Council, which comprises the head of the state of the member states of the European Union, the major keys for the decisions of very important issues and solving the problems which can occur within the European Union. Last but not least, the essence of the European Council is predetermined by the fact that the President of the European Union, or the head of the European Council, is also the former head of state or head of government of this or that member states of the European Union. The interaction between supranational and national level in the way of systematic dialogue and the flexibility and finding the compromise in decision-making procedures is really helpful for setting up the good practices and best practice for the interaction between other levels of governance within the European Union. For instance, the interaction between national and regional levels within the European Union in solving some issues and finding some decision to this or that situation. At the moment, the most effective within the practice of the European Union in the implementation of the governance is also basic elements such as democracy, as the distribution of freedoms, and also the pluralism, which is really helpful for making the process of governance within this European Union on every level working.